Hey guys, welcome back to this tutorial video in this lecture series. So, in our last tutorial, we went over how to create computer properties for our various stats. Now that's fine and dandy. Now, what we want to do next is we want to include it inside here so we have one prominent visible stat. So if we go to our working completed application, when we hover over these, we have different stat items display as the main stat, and you can leave it as those so that they become the main one that's visible, and you can change it like so with your mouse over. So guys, we want to create this functionality. So the first thing we have to do is we have to define a variable that defines what gets viewed here. So let's go ahead and do that, and we're going to create it right after I delete it. Let's create it right here after display task statistics, and here we're going to create a new variable called displayed tasks stat. Let's do displayed tasks stat, and then default we want, if we go back here, the top one is total tasks, so we want to have the total tasks as the default one that is in the beginning. So first we want to say total tasks, then comma, and then in our computer properties we want to say something along the lines of displayed tasks stat view, and here we're going to return the actual content or the HTML text that's going to be displayed inside that stat data variable. So if, let's say, we have a display task stat of total tasks, and this is going to be computer property, so let's copy this, and if we go back up and we go to task statistics, currently it says total tasks 1. However, we want this to be a variable, a computer property variable. So here we're going to copy and paste it. So we're going to say displayed tasks stat view. Now let's see, I might have to write this. If I write this here, and if I go back down here, and if I go function return hello, let's see if this works. Go back to our browser, go back to our app, and let's see, display stats hello. Yes, hello works. So that's exactly how we need to type that in. So having said that, what we want to do is we want to actually check for what the variable is inside our displayed task stat, and depending on what the variable inside the displayed task stat is, we want to change the content, the text content of this computer property. So we want to say first thing we want to say is we want to do a if else statement check. So we want to go if, and this displayed tasks data is equal to total tasks. So if this is true, we want to return total tasks plus this tasks dot length, which is going to basically bring back the total number of tasks available inside the stored task array in the Vue.js instance. Else if you want to also say this displayed tasks data is equal to, if it is equal to left to do, then we want to return tasks left and then add this left to do. And if we go back and we can check this variable is the one right here. So it basically tells you how many tasks you have left. Simple as that. The next one we want to create, guys, is the else if. And this time we want to check if this display tasks, and it's actually not tasks data. I don't know why I keep on saying task data. It's task stats. Whoops. So I'm going to go back here, and in these three variables I'm going to go back and say stats. if I go back here, it's DisplayedTasksStat. So DisplayedTasksStat, that's pretty much it. So next, if we want to check if is equal to checkmark. Now these are variables we haven't created yet, but we will create methods to change the DisplayedTasksStat variable to these right after we finish creating this part. So if it's checkmarked, we want to say return checkmarked task is plus this checkmarked tasks. And then in our last one, we want to go if else if once again. And here we want to say this DisplayedTasksStat is equal to deleted tasks. Then we want to output return deleted tasks is equal to deleted tasks plus this deleted tasks, which is the variable right here. So now that we have this available, we want to actually create a v-on mouse move directive in our HTML code where we have these different stats displaying. So let's go to our 4 different stat variables. So here we want to, inside these paragraph tags, we want to create a if v-on mouse over directive and run a function so that the DisplayedTasksStats variable changes depending on which paragraph tag is moused over. So let's do that. So we go v-on mouse over is equal to change total tasks, and then v-on mouse over change left to do, and then v-on mouse over change checkmarked. Then last but not least, v-on mouse over change deleted. So now that we have that created, we want to go back to our methods and actually create these 4 different methods. So let's go back to our methods right over here, and let's do it right after our add and delete tasks. So here we want to say our first one is change total tasks, and then function this DisplayedTasksStat is equal to total tasks. So that's not going to do anything yet because we start with total tasks. However, on the next one, we want to say change left to do function, and then we say this displayed tasks data is equal to left to do, and then next we want to say change check marked function, and change check mark function we want to say this displayed tasks data is equal to check marked, and then finally we want to say change deleted function, and then we want to say this displayed tasks data is equal to deleted tasks. So now when we mouse over, the tasks variable is going to be changed, and in turn when those tasks variable are changed, the DisplayedTasksStat view will also change the internal text message that it will be displaying. So now that we have all that set up, let's cross our fingers, test our code out, and see if it works. So let's go back to our browser, refresh the page, DisplayedTasksStats, and voila, it's not working. So let's figure out what exactly went wrong. So the first thing I usually do is I usually go inspect element, and I open the console dialog box and we have nothing wrong. So the next step I usually do, so this is how I personally debug. It's not the best method, but this is how I personally do it. The next method that I look for is I use the alert method to see if a particular piece of code is running. So let's say if I want to check via mouse over change left to do. So if I go back down here and change left to do, if I go alert left to do function is running. Let's see if this alert pops up. So we go back to our page, refresh, display our task stats, and if I move over the left to do function, then the left to do function is running, message displays. So what I can confirm from that is that this function is running. So let's now see if after this function is running, let's see what this particular variable is. So to do that, we can go alert. After the variable has been set, we can say this displayed tasks data, and then we can see if that returns left to do in the alert box message. So let's go back to our browser. Go back to our browser. Refresh the page. Display task stats. And then we can run over our functions, and yes, it is indeed changed to left to do. So what that says is that the function is running properly and it is properly changing the displayed tasks data. And I think I just realized by explaining that to you guys, I just realized what I did wrong was, and what I did wrong was I actually didn't update the value inside the code with what I need to be changed. So if we go back to the location of where our code needs to be changed, it says this display task stat view. So actually that is correct. That is correct. But let's see what happens if I remove the this part. If I remove the this part, go back to our browser, refresh the page, display task stats, and it still is not working. So let me figure out what is going on and I'll get back to you guys right away. Alright guys, so I'm back with my code here and I realized I made a really silly mistake. So the mistake, I think you guys probably caught this, and the reason why I made this mistake is because in the code that I'm reading that I previously wrote to make this tutorial fly by faster, I actually used a slightly different code, and that confused me while I was copying the code and explaining the code to you guys. So basically how I operate is I have the code already pre-written so that I can focus on explaining to you guys how the codes work while I'm actually making the tutorial videos. And in the event of that, I actually forgot to change this back to stat. So the first one was stat, but the second and third and fourth ones were all data here. So we have to change that to stat, which is the variable that we are using now. So I'm not someone who does unit testing. I don't do various programming testing videos because I haven't created a large application yet. However, that will be a really good situation where some sort of testing would help make programming a lot easier and debugging a lot easier and cleaner. However, now that we changed these to stat, if we refresh the page, and I already have refreshed the page, so it's already working. So we have these various stats changing as needed. So if we go back and add a few tasks, programmers can stay healthy and get very wealthy. Anyways, so let's add a few tasks. So if we hover over tasks left to do and we add and delete these, the numbers change, and if we go to checkmark tasks, then that also reactively changes as well, and the delete tasks also changes as well. So that was how we created the tasks variable or the stats variable to reactively update. And the next part here we are going to do is we're going to actually change this text. So if we go to our completed application, and we go to our completed application here, if we have more than 10 tasks that are left to do, this changes from managed to overload. And if we delete enough tasks, it becomes, and the tasks left to do goes back to below 10, it goes back to manageable. So to make this work, we have to go back to our code and do something really interesting. So we go back to where the manageable part is shown right here. and we have to create a if-else statement inside here. So here, delete this. And we're going to use a Vue.js instant variable here, and we're going to create a if-else statement inside it. So here we're going to go double curly brackets, double curly brackets, and inside we're going to say if left to do is less than 10, we want to output manageable, and else we want to output tasks overload. So now if we go back to our application, refresh the page, display task stats, and stay healthy and save money. Add. And if we go over to 10, it changes to tasks overload. Now we want to add another thing where we want the background color of this to change to red. So to do that, we first have to actually apply the style class to it so that it can know when to change red as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a red style. So let's go back all the way up to our styles, and then here we have green background. Now let's go ahead and create red. So we go red, and background color is going to be Indian red. I'm just trying to choose some light shades, and the one good thing about PHP Storm is if you go red here, and you can always choose all these different types of reds, and I could choose like pale violet red, but it's a little too light. I think this one's light enough, yet it has a little bit of red in it. I don't want it to be too red because then it's harder to read the text, so that's just easy on the eyes. Let's go down here, and now that we have that available, now we have to go back to our manageable, and here we have to create a special vModel style. So to do that, let's go to class and go do a vbind. So we're going to say vbind, or we could just do colon class, that works as well. Then colon class is going to be manageable, which is going to be a computed property. So let's go down to our computed properties, and let's say right after our display task view, let's add a computed property called manageable, and it's going to be a function like all the other computed property functions, and we're going to say if this left to do is less than 10, we want to return green. So that's the class green class we created earlier, and then else we want to create the red class that we just created, so return red. So that should work. So now let's actually go back to our browser once again. Go back to our browser, refresh the page, display task stats, and if we add programming helps your brain stay healthy and fun, and then add, and let's go all the way up to 10, tasks overload. So as soon as task left to do becomes more than 12, that changes to red. So now let's checkbox one, delete another one, and then it goes back to manageable and goes back to green. Okay, so that's the final part of the statistics portion, and in the last part of this tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to change the display title so that it's binded with the input form here at the very top. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, awesome day. Drink some water, stay fresh, have fun watching these tutorial videos, and I will see you guys in the next lecture video.